In this lecture, we are going to be taking a look at named ranges in Excel. Now, in Excel, all formulas basically refer to ranges, which are basically cells or groups of cells. Now, if we come over and take a look at this basic spreadsheet here, we have a basic formula which refers to loan times interest rate, which gives us the interest cost. Now, D3 times D4 doesn't really mean anything on its own. We can tell what it means in this example because we have this useful color coding on our spreadsheet. Now, this spreadsheet is really small, so it's easy to see what these are actually referring to. If this was a larger spreadsheet where you have formulas which span across multiple sheets, this starts to become a lot more difficult to read. So for example, if I come over to here and start a new sheet, and I start to type in this formula again by coming up with sheet 1, this value here times this value here, we get a formula which looks even worse, and now we don't have the visual reference to be able to decipher what this formula actually means. So to make this formula better, easier to understand, easier to read, and easier to write, what we really want to do is set up something called a named range. So this is considered best practice when you are setting up models in Excel, to have a worksheet which contains all your inputs and drivers that you can then refer to through the rest of your spreadsheet. Now, to set up a named range, there's a few ways you can do this. First of all, if I come up to this cell over here, we can see that the range here is D3. So this is my cell reference. If I come and click on this, I can type over the top and I can just type in a more meaningful name like loan. So then if I come over to a blank cell and start to type in a formula, equals loan, you can see that this pops up here as the this first item here, and it has this little icon of a label. Now this is different from these icons here, FX, which basically represent formulas. Since this item is selected, I can hit the tab key, which will complete this for me, push enter, and I have this reference to my nice named range over here. Now when setting up your models and input driver page, you're typically going to have quite a few of these values, and if you don't want to sit there manually typing all of these out, you can actually do them all at once by selecting these values and using an option called create from selection. So that's sitting right here under formulas, create from selection, and the shortcut key for this is Ctrl+Shift+F3, so I'm going to use that here. You get this option that pops up here, which is basically where to get the names from. So in this example here, I have my data here and I have my labels in the left column. So if I had labels across the top, I would click top row. Same thing for bottom row or right column. But for now, let's just keep with left column, click OK. And now I can see all of these have a name up in this corner here. In fact, I can click this drop down and I can get easy access to any of these values. So now if I take a look at this formula here, the formula hasn't updated. Creating name ranges will not go and update your formulas for you, which is why the sooner that you set it up, the better, because all of your formulas will already contain your name ranges. If you haven't done this from the beginning, you're basically going to have to go back and change some of these. But these will be easier to write once you have the names in place. So here I can type in loan. I could have clicked on that as well. Times interest rate. Come down, hit tab, and it's automatically going to do that typing for me. Again, if I'm doing this from another sheet, this becomes even better because I can't easily go back and click on the other cell, but I can very easily start to type these values in like so. So that is named ranges, which is the best practice for referring to static ranges of values in your Excel formulas. If you want to use named ranges for a dynamic range of values, for example, a table of data which can grow in the number of rows or columns, the feature that you are looking for is actually called tables, which we will cover in a separate lecture. Tables allow us to create a dynamic named range and are the best practice if we are setting the source for a pivot table, creating a formula for an entire column, or creating calculated columns in Excel.